outsourcing for accounting or CFO services. And then Firecrest looks after personal wealth. So Rudy's from Firecrest, but I'll introduce him just now. So the entire purpose of these events, which are supposed to be for communities, is to really explore what it takes to grow businesses, and by talking to real businesses and real founders and figuring out what is actually happening on the ground. And we're here to share stories about brands and people who are building something meaningful. So I'm going to quickly introduce you to the panel. So I'll start with myself. My name is Lisa, and I am a chartered accountant. I'm the CFO of a tech group, which I helped start with our CEO about 8 years ago. So over the last 8 years, we've both bought businesses, so done mergers and acquisitions, and then we've also built businesses from scratch. So I've been really involved in the brand building side, but more from the financial or the investment or the legal side, not from the brand or like creative side. And we have a whole portfolio of tech businesses, so ranging from cybersecurity to robotics. We're in all the big banks in South Africa. And then last year we bought a gin brand just to keep things interesting and to make things really difficult for me because I had no idea how to work with SARS, excise duties and all that stuff. So it was a completely brand new, fresh thing to learn. But yeah, so that's me. Then we've got a whole panel of cool people here that I'm really excited to chat to. So guys, this is Rudy, the token male. Rudy was voted South Africa's Financial Planner of the Year for 2024-2025. And with over a decade of experience, he specializes in guiding individuals and businesses through financial complexities. He works for Firecrest, by the way, one of the sponsors. Then we've got Me&B. So B, Bettina, is the co-founder and head of design at Me&B. So she has worked for over 30 years in the fashion design and manufacturing space. So her real passion is the understanding of textiles, fit, construction, how to actually make the product, which is very cool and interesting. And then Kelly is the other co-founder, mom and daughter duo, and she's head of brand. So that's where you're really looking at leading the creative direction of the brand, the marketing, the retail growth, all of that. And she has many years of experience in major retailers before they then started their own brand. And then next to me we've got Anne-Marie, and we just figured out we met each other at a wedding 15 years ago. Neither of us remember it, but anyway. So Anne-Marie is the VP of Marketing at Yoco, and she leads the brand strategy and growth for, obviously, one of South Africa's leading fintech companies. Guys, I'm not going to read all of my notes, I promise you. It's just the bio side, because I want to do them justice. And she has brought a very data-driven approach to how they build brands at Yoco. She has an MBA from Henley Business School, a postgraduate in advertising and marketing from Red and Yellow, and a BCom in management and law from Stellenbosch. There you go. I don't know, this is what the internet said, is it right?
I didn't share any of that.
Guys, this is why you must be careful what you put out there. Okay, so we're all wearing Me&B tonight, eh, Rudolph?
Of course.
Word on the street is that menswear is still coming soon. Yeah. So tonight we're going to split our discussion into 3 parts. So we're going to obviously start with the start, so building a brand with actual meaning. Then we're going to move on to the messy middle, the growing pains part, which is I think where all of us sit, all the majority of the time. And then we're going to move into the legacy and financial freedom part, which comes towards the end of your brand's career, or where you're potentially looking to exit or something like that. So those are the 3 parts we're going to look at. So I've spent this past week really deep diving into some of these businesses, and it's been really very cool. So I didn't know this, but when Yoco was created, did the sound just go louder? Okay. So when Yoco was created in 2013, 75% of South Africans had access to cards, and that includes recipients of social grants and stuff like that. 75% of South Africans had access to cards, and only 6% of businesses in South Africa were able to accept card payments, which is insane if you think about it. Now, we obviously have a massive informal economy, so to a degree it does make sense, but the disconnect is just completely incorrect. So then, if you fast forward now to 2025, so 12, 13 years later, I was walking on the prom the other day, and you know the lady who sells the little teddies that are like crocheted? She has a Yoco machine, guys. And when you think about that, that's just such an indicator of how Yoco has grown over 12, 13 years and just created such financial inclusivity. I read a comment that the Yoco CEO once said. He said, entrepreneurship doesn't have to be fancy. It just needs to foster growth and localize wealth within communities. And those are the two aspects which they really, very specifically were looking out for. And it's this whole concept of just make something happen first and you can make it great later. You don't have to have the whole picture or the whole product set up initially. So, Anne-Marie, based on that. So Yoco works with hundreds of thousands of small vendors. So you guys have 200,000 vendors on your platform. What kind of patterns do you see in how people start businesses? And what are some of the pitfalls or some of the things that have actually made them sustainable over the years?
So, first of all, thanks for having me. It's so great to be here. I think we have such a great viewpoint of 200,000 businesses and what those growth patterns look like. And I think there are two things I want to talk about. One is the South Africanisms that we see in our vendor base or our merchant base, and that is that South Africans will often just start because that's what we're about. We get our hands dirty and we get going. And there's this incredible spirit of, I'm like using an Afrikaans term of a boom of a plan, right? It's like, it's really, like you can see that that's not kind of limited to one culture or, one side of our country. We are really a nation of hustlers. And so often our entrepreneurs just start without much of a plan. They've got an idea and they've got a love and they've got a need, and we are the business that steps into that space. And I think we very proudly have really kind of stepped into this space of bringing our purpose to life, which is allowing communities to thrive. Because when you open commerce, that's what you do. In terms of the patterns that we see, the complexity with just starting is relatively simple. You've got an idea, you need to take payments, you need a bank account, you don't even need a legal entity. And so we really kind of opened up that side of things. But as we watch our businesses start to grow and they're successful, that's when the trouble starts. Because what's wonderful for us at Yoco is we don't actually have any enemies. We don't, everybody can grow at the same time. What we're working against is complexity, and complexity is the thing that creeps in as businesses grow, and that's what causes the playing field to be unequal, because big organizations have access to systems and process and the various tooling that is expensive and out of reach for the smaller players, the independent players, and so often that's where we see businesses kind of falter and stumble with their growth. Because they can't see what's going on, they don't know what's selling. They're running on a combination of spreadsheets and paper and cobbled together things that don't really work. Huge amounts of time and energy being spent on that. And so, shameless plug, as we come into our next 10 years, and today is actually our 10-year anniversary of processing. Yeah, and whereas when we first started, our first trading year was 2015, there were only 250,000 merchants in South Africa that actually had access to card machines. On our platform today, we have over 200,000. What happened was with that, as we democratized the category and really cracked it open and invited in, opened up this commerce opportunity for so many independent, small and medium-sized enterprises, the competition followed. And I think it's been fantastic to see how players like Capitec, Bidvest, the various banks have come in, and what has resulted in us eating their lunch from a payments perspective is we started to see the charges drop. But we've already kind of moved on to the next challenge, which is taking the complexity of running a business out by moving into this space where we want to become a single point of control for your business. And that's through, first of all, starting off with our point of sale machine. So we moved out of card payments only, or what we like to call simple payments, because I think we've solved that problem now. The access is there. Now what we're moving towards is kind of demystifying, decomplexifying, and providing really, really super simple and smart systems that a business can just pick up and run and go with. And what we're aiming to do with that is to give the visibility and the control that allows an entrepreneur to really be able to understand the flows of their business and have access to the same kind of information and tools that would traditionally only be available to a larger business.
I went to walk around a few shops in Clear Street this week, and I checked which ones had Yocos, and I asked them what they liked about it. And so the first thing was simplicity, so they knew exactly what the fees were, and I think that's the key for any small business, or for any business. Don't make it complicated. And I think that's one of the things you guys did really well, 2.75% or whatever. They know exactly what it is, they can take that off, there's no, you don't have to go put it into a spreadsheet. And the other thing that people loved is the little blue machine, right? So the fact that you walk into a store, you know the blue machine is going to work, it will most probably connect to the internet, it'll be fine, and there's just this absolute visibility around your brand, which is one of the key things also, I think, from the start. You knew that you needed to have one differentiating aspect, and you got that right.
Yeah, I think, I've been in the role for a fairly short period of time, so I'm standing on the shoulders of a few giants that built this brand, which is really beautiful. And, a lot of tech businesses focus on that direct acquisition that they can get through performance or pay-per-click marketing. But what they miss is that brand building element is the thing that builds a neural network. It's the thing that, if I ask you in the middle of the night, tell me about a little blue card machine, you're going to pop up and say Yoco, right? And that gives us such an incredible moat. First of all, because our brand is generally associated with the real kind of forerunners in the industry, whether it be food and beverage or retail, etc. We're not, because we're in the independent space and our focus is on independent business, you get the cool, cutting edge, really kind of trendy places. And if you look at what we look like when we're visible, that is what you see. And the other thing that's really key is, we've really been deliberate on building distinctive brand assets. So I bet you if I played you the sound that plays at the end when we take a payment, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And when I tell you turquoise blue, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's a beautiful thing and great kind of material for us to work with. The challenge for us right now is because we're moving from one category to another, we're on that journey of kind of re-educating our customers, our merchants, and the consumers that we take payments from what we're now about. So, it's a super interesting challenge and something that we've kind of embarked on with humour. And it's cool to be able to do humour in a serious category that's quite boring, right?
Okay. Cal or B, either of you can answer at any point, so feel free.
We will talk over each other.
I'm ready for it. Okay, so if I had to choose one word to describe Me&B, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the word would be inclusivity. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Right? And I think there's this cultural relevance that comes from creating belonging. And I actually read something the other day that I absolutely loved. It said, the best brands are movements with a product attached to it as merch. Cool, eh? And I think, taking that into account, what would you guys say was the problem or the moment that led you to start this business that so many people in this room absolutely love?
Well, both Kelly and I are not a size 34, so I was traveling, 32, 34, 36 even. But I used to find that when I used to travel, because I was in clothing and design, I used to travel overseas and I used to do all my shopping, come home and never shop here at all. And I just couldn't find anything that actually spoke to me as who I am, my personality and what I wanted. And I found
Also a very young mom. So
yes.
that's quite a hard like identity to dress for. You know, you are young, vibing mom, and then the only shops you've got in South Africa at that stage is like Donna Claire, and like
It was very difficult.
it's very difficult to sure.
And I was dealing with big chain stores and realizing that every time I designed for them, I was taking off the pockets or taking out the flare or reducing the fabric or just really chasing price and just making it worse than what I'd actually started with. And I realized there's a huge gap in the market to just make something that we really love. Beautiful fabrics. I'm obsessed with fabrics. So beautiful fabrics, something that I adore and want to put out there.
And expressed our personalities.
Yeah.
That was also the thing. There was no color, there was no fun. You must remember when we started 8 years ago, a lot of what was out there is the beige. You know, people were playing it safe. And then we just came in and we were like, wow! and that seemed to work. So yeah.
So was there a specific moment where you were like, okay, this is actually working, I think we can do this? Was there like an aha moment at some point?
This
This
is the
event.
moment. We're obviously doing something. No, the moment for us was definitely we opened our first store. So COVID happened, and we shot from our in our year two to our year 5 figures just because of COVID. And basically what happened was they shut down all shipping. So we were working with raw materials, and we ended up having a double up of shipments. So summer and winter and summer arrived of fabrics because of everything being closed up. And we were like, okay, we've just got this online store, this website's our only channel that we're selling.
There was not a lot of websites at the time.
Yeah.
And there was not a lot of women-owned businesses at the time either. So we just actually ticked the boxes, woman-owned websites, everything during COVID.
Yeah, but there was only one channel, so we were like, we need to actually set up another channel, because we've now got this huge influx of stock. So no one was looking to rent a single store space, so it was a very good time to get in and negotiate. And I remember it was on Zoom, and I spoke to someone from 44 Stanley, still our best performing store from that moment, yeah. Still our best store. And we negotiated a rental contract on Zoom. We hadn't even seen the store, you hadn't even seen the store. You were like, I was like, I think I saw it back in the day, it was a good store. And we went ahead and we jumped in.
It's 180 squares.
It's a huge store.
Yeah, massive.
That's literally the size of my home.
So MJ, my husband and I moved. We had a 4-month-old and a 1-year-old, and we moved to Joburg. And I'd never opened a store, never done any sort of shop fitting or anything. And I ended up pulling off the store opening in 2 months. Wow. Like it was, I mean, it was crazy. We were living in Joburg. We had no support system. Moved away from our support system with these 2 kids. It was crazy. But on the first day of the store opening, this was the aha moment for me. The store opening, we made rent in the first day.
Wow.
So, and I was like, oh, aha moment, yeah. That was good.
Yeah, I love that. Is there anything from how you started that you wish you'd done differently with hindsight now?
So I'll answer that because we spoke about this before we got here, but we don't think there was anything that we would do differently, even though we had COVID and all these obstacles along the way, but each of them actually moved us in the right direction, we feel. So I don't think there was anything that really would have changed.
You learn, you know, with the mistakes, you learn such valuable lessons. I think that's the thing that people need to realize. Experience is everything.
Yeah.
Yes, guys, the other day, like 3 months ago, I sent an email to the wrong Sean. And you know, literally today I was sitting at my desk and I had to send an email to a Peter, and there's also 2 Peters. And like the amount of times I checked the Peter, right? Is this the right Peter? Because the wrong Sean was a big stuff up. But exactly, like,
It's experience.
you have to do it, like you have to stuff up. Okay, Rudy, we finally get to you.
Yay, Rudy!
Right, Rudy. Okay, so as we've heard, both entities started with a pretty clear vision, right? But vision requires money, which we knew. And Kelly once told me in the back of an Uber that Me&B is fully self-funded, obviously with debt on the back of revenue, but fully self-funded. Yoco, on the other hand, not that one is better or worse than the other, but Yoco, on the other hand, has raised over a Series A, B, and C investment round of funding, over $100 million, guys. 1.7 billion rand is what they've raised over the last 13 years.
But Yoco is almost profitable now.
Love that.
Inside.
Love that. Actually, last night I was like, I should probably read their financials, and then I forgot because I went out. Sorry. Anyway, but
if you were reading our financials, you would have been doing financial espionage.
Oh, is it?
Not public.
Oh.
Public health.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so there we go. So very different methods, very different mandates. One is self-funded, one is obviously investment round funding. So really from your side as a advisor at Firecrest, what do you often see in those early stages, and what do entrepreneurs sometimes overlook financially when starting out?
Yeah. I think your starting point is correct, where as a South African, I think we're quite resilient, so we do the things. Got an idea, let's make it happen, there's an opportunity, which is good. That's how I think great businesses get started. And then you want to avoid the complexity. And I think where our starting point isn't that so helpful to have a plan, right? If you think about, I have to get somewhere, which is very practical. If I want to get to Stellenbosch and I'm not new to the area, I wouldn't just get in my car and start driving. That'll be done. But sometimes in life we do that. We would just start something and just see where the motions take us, which sometimes works out really well, and sometimes it is quite detrimental to the future of something that could be really special. So I think taking some stock in your business where you're at, if you're new to your business that you've launched, or you're a couple of months in, or a couple of years even in, is to take a moment with your partners or with yourself and have a conversation. Okay, we thankfully still operating, but where we want to take this thing to. And then we put a plan together. And part of that planning is also your finances. Because you also don't want your business to die because of poor financial management. And if you want to grow the organization, sometimes you've got to take some risks, which is important. But then you don't want to take uncalculated risks. So if you are taking on leverage or a loan, whether it's family or like a loan from the bank or a traditional organization, or maybe like startup funding, if that doesn't work out, you become personally liable for that. Whether it's in your personal capacity or whether you're doing it through a business, at some point in time you would have had to sign surety, which is a terrible position to be in if it's not calculated. So you want to actually at the early stages just be quite pragmatic around, okay, I believe this thing could work, and I want to make sure this is successful in the longer term, and I need to just look at the practicalities of my life and how I manage my finances, and I think touch on it maybe a bit later in the messy middle side. But you need to be very careful about how you manage the business finances, because you are separate to your organization. And sometimes if it's a small business, it's understandable that you use your private accounts, but that's when the messiness comes in, the complexity comes in, and it gets tough to unwind those kind of things later. And if you then wanted to get an investor on board, or you want to grow, or you want to take on leverage, then all of a sudden it's like the bank says, but there's groceries on your business account, but you make clothing. It makes no sense. So
Girls gotta eat.
Girls gotta eat, exactly.
Same thing as what you were saying, is that was a big lesson for us, that growth versus profit. So it was just whatever we were making was just going in. And you don't realize that, but that is like such a key learning as a business starting up. You need to separate those things. It's just you have to show that. You have to show the profit if you ever want to get any sort of loans.
Not according to Amazon though. And I think that's one of the issues, right? Like Amazon has told all of us you don't need to make profit and you can still list and still sell for insane amounts of money. But I think realistically in an economic climate like ours, the banks just aren't going to care.
I think what we're seeing is, and it happened in 2022, so we came through this period of like super low interest rates and just like VC money everywhere. And MJ and I used to work together at Get Smarter, and we were the beneficiaries of like beautiful stock prices, and all of a sudden, March, April 2022, interest rates went up, it flipped, and we went from being in a growth economy where no one looking at a NASDAQ listed company was looking at what the bottom line was doing, and more importantly, what the net positive cash flow was, right? And that's the thing that's killing business, and will be the thing that lands you up in a hole, especially if you're on that growth expansion. So, yeah, just that liquidity, and you know as a CA, like, what's the saying?
Cash is king.
No, it's like something about vanity, sanity, reality.
I've literally never heard that before.
It's the English tea.
Love that.
Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is reality, right? So on the cash flow points, interestingly, as Yoco, we have a product called Yoco Capital, which allows us to provide businesses that are in the need for trade finance with funding. At the moment, we do it via a third-party vendor. And essentially, because we can see exactly what's coming into the business, we're able to forecast what kind of payments you can have access, or you can kind of carry. And the process is kind of really simple and quite quick. And instead of making it monthly payments, what we do is we take a percentage each time you have revenue coming through, which is quite a seamless and lovely integration.
So I literally love that. I spotted that this week, and I actually didn't know that was something you guys offered, but it is so smart to be able to know exactly what's coming in and then just take that portion off the margin.
We use it.
Okay, so I think we're gonna move on to the messy middle, this like the pressure part, right? So Carl and B, there's this massive rise at the moment in founder-led brands, right? Where the CEOs or the leaders become this very distinct face of the business. And that's obviously the case for you, it's literally your name. But how have you managed to guide your brand using this principle, and does it get tiring when it's so attached to you guys as humans?
The tiring part is very, very real for us. It's quite difficult because as a clothing brand, you don't want to be the face of a clothing brand. It's not about us. It's what we're trying to sell. So, but being authentic and being the face of it has obviously really helped us connect with our audiences. So, I think that's been like an incredible learning for us, that we actually do need to be the face of the brand. It was never our intention, and the name of the brand was never like, oh, this is all about us. It was just a really...
Actually, Me&B was before we started.
Yeah, we didn't actually think about it like that, but here we are. We are the face of the brand. I mean, what's the question? The problem? Sorry?
Absolutely no idea. No,
Is it a problem?
I said, what is the... How have you managed to guide your brand using this principle of knowing that you guys are the face of it?
The problem right now is in all brands is you having to shout louder, and people have all got to hear you. And like every day, you've got to be in someone's face when they open up their phone. Hello.
Wednesday morning at 6?
Yes. So
Read the newsletter.
we realize that is part of it, is to keep people engaged with us, and we've got to get engaged with it. We love showing what's happening in the back, who's working, what they're doing, and I think that's growing the community of Me&B, because they know this is where their clothes are made, this is who's doing it, and this is the community we're building. And
also, we're super passionate about what we do, and I think that's an easy sell. If you love what you do, if you love what you do, you just got to put it out there, and people will buy into that.
What would our behind the scenes look like in the office every day? Like somebody typing behind a laptop, like, hey, that's Rudolph doing emails. So I think it's great that you can do that, because I think it's part of the growing that authentic you, so that people fall in love with the brand.
But he's the new bass guy.
It's a close.
Just on that point of marketing in the new channels, the content consumption rate is so high. So shout out for my team in the front here, Michelle and Robin. So Michelle runs our organic social channels. And the amount that we produce in order to keep our channels full, not only from an organic perspective, but also from a performance perspective, is just absolutely incredible. And the rate is just increasing and increasing and increasing. And it's so much harder to get the cut through these days. So that fatigue that you have And the speed at which the trends are changing and how quickly and how on top of it you've got to be, it's almost a 24/7 job, which is absolutely exhausting. And I mean, you're doing it in addition to all the other stuff. I mean, I have a dedicated team that runs that, so I can just imagine. And really kudos, because I think when I think of kind of standout social media accounts that I follow, you guys are always the one that I love to look at. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Small sidebar, I saw this week that PayPal, their CEO, they are currently advertising a role, you know what I'm going to say? They're currently advertising a role for just to be the content creator for the CEO of PayPal. And it's something like $240,000 a year, guys. It's insane. It's like 5 million rand, right? I mean,
To write the CEO's LinkedIn.
just to write the CEO's LinkedIn stuff and all that, you know? And then, exactly. That's awkward, your employers are, No, but I mean, if you think about that, it's going that the founders have to actually be like front and center, and people are buying into a human and the trust that a human creates versus just a product. I mean, this question should maybe even be for MJ, but you guys can answer. So MJ is Carl's husband, and he's the CFO of Me&B. But how do you guys handle the emotional side of cash flow, specifically like slow months, like supply stress?
Okay, before MJ started, okay, I was that person. And I'm a designer, okay? The worst person to put in finance.
I also can't deal with this, so stress kills joy, and I feel like the whole brand is joy, and like, just protect me from that, Mom. And then thank God MJ joined our business.
Yeah, so cash flow is a nightmare when you're growing, it really is, and to control it and keep up with it and know where you're going with all our CMT payments, our fabric coming in, Chinese New Year, we're bringing all our fabrics, huge big containers, you have to put all that money up front, it's a complete nightmare, so highs and lows all the time. So fashion is a difficult one, and thank God we have now MJ who started, and he is helping us with monitoring it, and I can actually concentrate on what I do best, which is great.
Yeah, so I think like going on from that, what is something that you wish you'd outsourced sooner? Apart from finance, which we've already discussed.
So a big thing for us was HR. It's such a funny thing, but like making sure people is a lot. You don't actually realize when you starting out the business that it's people just want everything in black and white. They want to know what to expect. So it was we were paying 1,500 rand a month for this HR business to come in and do it. Best 1,500 rand we'd ever spent. They set up the contracts. If there was any sort of grievances, they would come in and deal with it. I wish we had done it sooner. Just that was the one thing. And then I also have a shameless love for our sponsor, Fiskal. I wish we'd got help with someone who actually knew the systems a lot earlier. It took us 2 years to learn the system which we implemented. It's called Sin7. Was called DEAR before. We just had people who thought they knew the system, teaching us how to use the system. And trying to get everyone on board with that, it was a huge stress for us. So I wish I'd just known and reached out, because we actually got Fiskal through reaching out on the Sin7 platform. That's how we actually got introduced to them. So instead of us looking locally and trying to find someone who knew Sin7, go directly to the platform, get connected to their people that they are behind, and yeah, so that was just a big thing for us.
Do you want to add something here?
No, I think what Kelly and Leah are talking about is just something that we've seen consistently coming back from our own merchant base, is people get into business and the specific businesses they love because they have a talent or a love for that specific space. So both of you are creative and you love design and you're into fashion, but you're not necessarily kind of set up to run businesses. And then you've got the tools that are just so hard to kind of put together and plug together, and there's actually no one who's advocating for that space and removing that complexity out. And I think that's kind of the next big stumbling block for entrepreneurs in South Africa. Is like, how do we level that playing field so that everybody has an equal chance against the complexity versus having to adopt things that are designed only for like an enterprise level organization, and cost huge amounts of money. So yeah, it's just, it is because I think at the end of the day, when independent business wins, when you have a growing economy, in a country like ours, you just have such a positive trickle-down effect. The amount of people that you employ, because you're able to grow and you're able to fund that growth, is just, that's what it's really about, right?
Yeah. So we have about 50 people working for us, and we support 10 factories in Cape Town, and each of them have people working there. So you can imagine the amount of people that actually work with a lot. So that is, it is incredible. I remember with the whole Dear Sim 7, we would be, this guy would phone and he would tell us, okay, just go onto my loom and teach yourself. Oh my God, it was crazy. We used to do that. But I mean, there was just no support when it came down to actually finance and helping out and where to grow. And Fiskal's been incredible for us.
No one paid them to say that. So I read that the 4 founders of Yoco, they were all working in very different fields, so like actuarial science, like tech, whatever. And they were all working for other companies, and they quit their jobs, moved in with their parents, and for essentially like a year and a half, they were just essentially trying to get the business regulated, right? Because in South Africa, the amount of red tape around this kind of stuff is just, it's insane. We've also got some financial service providers in our group, and it's madness just having to run that. So I think what we all know is that building businesses are messy and expensive. So are there any specific financial or operational challenges that you've noted that Yoco merchants or Yoco itself has faced while they're trying to scale?
So it's so interesting because such a relevant question that you asked me. We just had our little 10-year birthday at the office before I came here now. They played back some of the videos, and it's actually hilarious to see, one, how young the founders were, and so like what it actually took out of them to get this business up and running and scale it, right? Like, they got old, man. I mean, you all get old, but these guys got old quick. They all look fantastic, and it's great to have them in the business and still working in the business. You know,
all 4 of them 12 years later. That's pretty insane, as well.
Yeah, and we just had a leadership transition. So Yoco, who's our original CEO, is still a founder. Obviously, he will always be. His focus has moved outward. And what was the question again, Lisa?
Are there any specific operational challenges that you've noted in your merchants as they're trying to scale that you could maybe bring to the fore for other small businesses to learn from?
I think to the point that Rudolph talked about, it's this thing of starting and just running and really not taking a moment to kind of stop and think about how you've set up a legal entity and I guess it depends on like where you come from and how planned you are at starting a business. But a lot of the time, especially in this country, it's out of necessity, right? And so you need to kind of get up and get that cash flow going as fast as possible. You're not thinking too much about whether you're keeping your receipts or not, which name everything is running in, etc., etc. And that level of complexity to extricate yourself out of that is difficult. I think additionally, it's about having that vision, and like unfortunately, the financial side of things and having someone like MJ who can do the numbers so well on your side is absolutely critical, because that inability to understand, I'm going to go back to cash flow, unfortunately, the inability to understand the cash flow that's required just to pay your suppliers or pay your salaries at the end of the month is really key. Yeah. All that, and absolutely. So,
Don't forget that.
yeah.
I
mean, the biggest pain in the bag. And so increasingly what we're seeing is, as the payments provider, we're looking at the different opportunities that we have to create savings pockets for our merchants, so that when the money comes in, we can split it automatically. So 15% can automatically go into that. We've also obviously seen our tipping functionality, right? So the automatic kind of 4-button tipping functionality comes up. You can choose how much you want to tip. We're also working towards being able to put those automatically into staff pockets and disperse them into staff bank accounts immediately. Some of the data that's come out of that tipping is, since we implemented just that tipping screen, there has been an incredible increase in terms of like the amount of money that waiters, baristas, barmen are earning without doing anything different, because it uses behavioral economics. It's a little nudge that just says, remember me. And we all know in South Africa Africa that waiters and barmen don't get paid. They're literally living on tips. And this just makes it so easy for us to be able to go, yeah, absolutely, I definitely want to tip. If it's going to take longer, then we'll push for time. But just making it endemic to the process, and that's a lot of what we design for in what we're looking to solve. That it just becomes so easy that it's stupid not to do it. Like, you actually have to go around it. And so much of our UX and our experience and how we offer the different kind of solutions to our merchants is about that.
I think there's maybe a lesson in that for us as business owners and entrepreneurs. What is the friction that we introduce in our sales process? And how can we eliminate that? By something very simple as in the process of paying, you make it clear to somebody that, hey, I can actually do a good thing. How do we do that in our processes? So what does our quoting process look like? How do we follow up? How do we chase up invoices? And what have we built into the process to either make it very easy for somebody to check out the basket, or yes, you make it like a big thing. Every time somebody has to purchase, they've got to sign into their account. Remember the email address and password. There are important things. You want to track the information. It's helpful over time. But if I just really want that shirt, then I just want to pay. Like my Apple Pay is here, just give me the thing. So we must maybe consider that in every part of our touch point with the client. We need to make it super clear, super simple, and for them to go, I'm in the moment, I want this thing, how do I get it? And not make them do a song and a dance.
The having to do your face, like the amount of times I do online shopping at night in my bed and then it doesn't recognize my face and I'm like, I know, sorry, I've already taken my makeup off, like I'm just horrendous. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to get it.
I was going to say about the refunding back into the card with Yoco. That was like one of the things, like there was a friction point, going back to what you were saying, that we experienced when customers were coming back and trying to refund onto their card. We always had to do it manually. I think that's a new breakthrough for you guys in your... Okay?
I wouldn't know about that one.
Okay, but it is...
Robin says yes.
Yeah, so I think that's a brand new thing, but that's going back to your friction point, and it's something that we were experiencing, and it's a shared friction point across you and I. So had to.
But talking about, like, because in e-commerce we talk about a slippery funnel, like you've got to slip straight through the funnel and make the payments, and like Instagram shopping, like clicking buy off Me&B's Instagram and landing with stuff in my cart and then being able to pay in one click is the most dangerous thing. I'd stay off your site. I'd stay off your social media now because I think my resistance becomes low and I'm like, oh, that's nice.
It's easy, I'm feeling.
And I always message in there after and I'm like, NJ, you're doing it again.
Okay, so we're going to go into more the like personal side quickly, really, before we move on to the legacy, freedom, what's next part. But I think in this messy middle part is often when founders are starting to think about managing their own wealth, their personal wealth alongside business growth. When do you recommend people start formalizing how they pay themselves, whether that's salaries, dividends, reinvesting versus taking out, etc.? What is is there a game plan?
There is, and it's quite simple. You need to ask yourself, what are you trying to achieve? Am I self-employed or do I own a business? Because they're two different things, and it's okay to be either one of the two. So if you're self-employed and you just do something really well, and you want to keep doing that and earning a living from that, then it's irrelevant whether you take a salary or whether it's in a P2I limit or a dividend, because it's not like you're getting this business ready to sell. But if you're a business owner and you want to get other people involved, shareholders, or you want to raise capital, or you want to exit this business, then long before you want to sell to someone, you probably need to make sure that you can show a profit. And if you just simply took money out of the business in a salary format, which means there was no profits, so then you're going to have a tough time selling this business because it's worth nothing. Even though it is really valuable, you can't show people that. So I think that's
called normalization, guys. I've done it so many times. It's fine.
Yeah.
So put a normalization line out at the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah. So choose the path, and if you want to say, okay, well, this is bigger than me. I want to get other people involved. I want to grow this thing. I believe in this thing. Then at that point, go, okay, what am I going to save myself in the future, and how do I now start formalizing it? So the other thing that I think is important to start off saying is, if it is a mess at the moment, that's okay. Because if you're getting clients, it's a good thing. So then just figure out, okay, well now how do I move this forward and become more professional, or maybe more, I guess, manicured, and then you get partners involved. So then you get a Fiskal. You get somebody that can take you by the hand and then help you register the legal entity, and then sort of start paying yourself a salary so that you have a pay slip, but also that you pay as you earn, because that's an important thing. You keep money out of that. So it just helps you to get more simplicity out of all the complexity. It gives you that headspace to actually think more critically about the future of the business. Because if you've got so many things top of mind around, I don't even know where the stock is, I don't even know how much money is coming, like how am I going to pay the suppliers, there's actually, from a psychological perspective, a part of your brain that switches off. They call it the prefrontal cortex. The part of the brain that's there for critical thinking, to make good decisions, to be very creative, which you need, that part of your brain doesn't work if you're under stress or pressure or there's just like this fog. So, come have coffee with me, we'll talk more about this, we can cry together and all that. So, you're doing yourself and your business a favor by actually putting in structure, and that structure will allow you to flourish and won't stifle you, because you'll have a plan, you'll have a budget, you'll have clarity around, when I wake up tomorrow morning, this is what I do in the business. I know that I've put money aside to pay myself a salary next month, so I'm not stressed about my personal finances. I can actually give attention to the business, and then you just start chipping away at that. So the how you get paid will be determined by what you're trying to do with your business. So if you want to sell or get partners involved, you need to have a salary. That you need to obviously make sure that you start drawing dividends over time, even though it's easy to go, yeah, you only need to start drawing a dividend out of a business after a certain tax bracket that you go into, because then it's the most tax efficient way. Tax is a view, but it's not the only view. We shouldn't make business decisions because of tax. And sometimes we make our businesses overly complicated to reduce taxes, but marginally. But we take massive costs involved to have other people do all the taxes and the accounting and the financial statements to save a little bit of tax, which is cool, it's important, but just like not at the expense of your headspace or making this overly complex, and then you lose less to do this business.
I honestly literally want to meet you for coffee after this. Right? Okay, we're going to move on to the third and final part. So this whole concept of building a legacy, right? And I think I can speak for everyone on this panel, but I'm literally not interested in just randomly going to work and doing something and then going home. Like that, I'm not interested in that. It's boring. It's not purpose-driven. It's not what I'm keen on. And I think if I look at both your brands, right, there's a lot of support of others built into it. So if I think of Me&B, you're massive on supporting female creators and business owners in your store builds, in your product collabs, in like all of that, right? So super focused on that. And then if I think about Yoco, I mean, the entire concept of your business is trying to create commerce and trying to localize wealth within communities. So is purpose actually a part of your wealth strategy? Go for.
Is purpose actually part of the wealth strategy?
I think
We are very much not in the third phase of what you want me to be. It's fine for us to admit this. We're in the messy middle still. So it's very much survive and waiting to thrive. But I think having that purpose of what we're doing, as I said, it's all about the passion. That's what's driving us. So having that purpose is definitely guiding where the business is going because we believe in it. But I don't think we're at the phase where we're building wealth and coming out and looking after our personal growth of tech. No. Family eats last in our business.
Well, when the whole family works in the business.
Exactly. Family eats last.
It's been a very crazy year because we've opened up 5 stores this year and we built a huge warehouse. So
we got to a point where we've grown out our warehouse. So you have to have a point in business where you start. You've got to sort of invest in the foundation and you can start growing again. We did all of that in 1 year. So we've invested in the foundation, which we've 6x'd our current warehouse. I mean, it's huge. I walk
I
in there
walked
and
into
I'm
it
like,
yesterday. It's
I'm like-
massive.
It's Amazon, basically.
Silicon Valley, you know,
but we walk through and it's not what we're using right now, but it's hopefully what we're using in 5 years. So we have to do the investment now. We've now have 10 stores, actually 11 as of today. Durban, it's a pop-up, but still 11 stores currently open. So right now at the moment we're just skating
very
through.
messy.
Yeah, it's messy. We're not in the third phase. We can't
That's
talk on this
Fine.
side of the.
Fine. If you had to speak to like a brand new first-time founder, is there any like nugget of advice that you'd give them?
Oh, this is huge for me because I have a partner. I always think it's so important to partner with someone who has skills that are totally different to you. It's the number one key because it's so difficult doing it alone, guys. It's so hard. If you can do it alone, I'm always in awe of like people who have grown businesses single-handedly. I'm like, how? So I'm an ideas person. I'm like always fresh, pushing the boundaries. And my mom is an incredible doer. And we literally wouldn't be able to do anything without each other. And so that's my biggest thing is to find someone who's got a skill set that's totally different to you and partner with them. Really, it helps.
I want to add something that Kelly actually did in the beginning of the business was she always thought globally, she always thought where we're going, and puts in all those things in the beginning. So where
Instill the systems.
Yeah, so when we had people, okay, we're going to tier our business, we're going to have managers and people below, and even though it was small, we still tiered our business that we would have a forecast of where we're actually going. And Kelly kept thinking bigger rather than smaller.
An inventory system for 20 units. We started, but we've got to think, I was like, we've got to think long term and we've got to implement all these things really early and it's helped so much. We know so much because we started so early.
I would recommend that for anyone who's starting out.
When you had those ideas and visions, were you supported in that?
No, everyone thought I was crazy because I started paying subscriptions when we were doing 20 units a month. But at the end of the day, I was just keen to learn and throw myself into something, and it's helped a lot now.
The other thing is that we also learned along the way is a lot of people are trying to sell you things all the time. Like, oh, we can do this, we can do that. And we realize actually we know.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself, really.
Back yourself. You actually do know. No one knows your business better than you.
I cannot tell you how many people we've gone down the road and said, we actually know more than you. And
Well,
now
so-
we're with you.
So there's just obviously everyone's selling you the dream, and it's so easy to believe that they know more than you. And at the end of the day, if you are as passionate about your business as you all would be, you will get to know what they know, and you'll very quickly realize that you're surpassing their love and attention for your business. As soon as you outsource, it gets watered down. So, yeah, that was a big.
I just think it's really cool that you guys still like each other. You actually have like an amazing vibe, and like what an awesome experience to be able to kind of connect and work together.
She's my best friend. Best friend.
It's not like that for everyone,
I know,
so
but I'm
really
lucky,
lovely.
and I'm very lucky to
I think
spend.
that we work in very different places within the business. I'm doing that side and she's doing that side.
We say stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
On the loneliness thing, I think that's a kind of really big insight that we picked up from our merchants, is that, being an entrepreneur, being self-employed, either or, is not for everyone. I had a short stint as a consultant working for myself beginning of this year. I can tell you, not for me, not my vibe. I need a space to belong and people around me to tell me I'm wonderful. Just kidding.
You're wonderful.
Just kidding. No, just kidding. But it's something that we have really kind of tapped into and started to connect with from a Yoco perspective is that element of community and providing space to kind of hold the mindset that entrepreneurs have, which is like often like I'm up against this on my own, and like this flipping back bill is mine to carry, and I'm operations and marketing and growth and it's a super lonely space, and if you've got a partner to do it with, and you know those complementary skills, it's amazing. But we really kind of are acknowledging that and the need for us to be able to create a space for that kind of connection. And so, you know, we've got a couple of different things that we do to be able to allow people to get together under our banner, but we're facilitating the conversation. We're really just creating the opportunity for them to connect and bond and to be able to talk about the challenges that they have. Because let's face it, I mean, we sit in this beautiful place, but this kind of country is like, you need to be on your fourth or fifth rodeo to be able to do well here, and you've got to be super street smart, and like often the odds are stacked against you, and there's all kinds of stuff like crime and theft, and crime is theft, tax, also theft. Correct. I don't think we can keep going.
Go down this link to other types of things. Let's bring it back up.
I would edit that part out.
This isn't full, right? Yeah. It's funny, so my business partner is convinced that he solves problems in his sleep. So I'll say to him, like, listen, I'm battling with XYZ, and I'll like show him the thing, and I always force him to be on his computer, so he has to look at it on Excel, because like, he'll always just be like, no, let's just have a quick chat. I'm like, no, we're no Unix at your computer. Anyway, so I'll show him a problem, and then he'll be like, cool, no, well, I'll sleep on it. And then the next morning, he'll literally wake up, and he'll be like, okay, cool, so I've thought about it, XYZ, this is how we handle it. But it's such a cool thing, because he's so convinced that he's going to solve it, and then I don't have to, which is really nice, which is this whole, like, playing off your partner perspective. Are there any standout success stories of Yoco merchants that you could share with us?
I mean, they're sitting on the stage, right?
And the lady who knits the teddies on the prom.
Yeah. But I mean, we've got tons of incredible merchants. You just need to think of your favourite coffee shops that you visit in Cape Town. Two from the apparel space that I thought of was Bartu, the sneakers. They're a merchant of ours and joined us from day one. And then Seco Jeans are also a Yoco merchant, so joined us from the beginning. And really two businesses that are, you know, building legacy and building kind of ongoing kind of impact in South Africa, also manufacturing locally, etc., etc. So I love those two examples. I think they're really beautiful. They're also grounded in like, having impact in community, creating employment, and building something that's beautifully, truly South African.
I think we've pretty much answered most of these questions in a roundabout way. So I actually just want to ask you, from each of you, what is one thing that you are genuinely excited about in the current, that's coming up, or in the current future of your business? It can also be that you're going on leave in like a month, that's fine.
The most exciting thing that's happening is our fashion show, annual fashion show. It usually happens in Cape Town, so this is our first year we're doing it in Joburg.
It's been incredibly stressful.
No, but I'm really looking forward to it now because I think it's T-minus 1.5 weeks. We've got my auntie, I mean it's a full family business here. My auntie's doing the styling, MJ's doing the finance, but we've got our first ever fashion show in another city, and I think it's going to be an incredible thing. I hope this is aired to any Joburgers. Buy your tickets. We still have 100 tickets we need to sell. Yeah, so we're really excited about that.
A lot of effort.
Yeah, anything specifically from your side?
I'm
Menswear?
I think I really need a holiday.
But that's also
I'm
fine.
really looking forward to the end of the year. I've got 3 grandchildren, which is incredible. So a good time with them would be good. Yeah.
I think with our business Firecrest, we're a relatively new business, and the fact that there is like synergy within the partners, the fact that there is a impact that we can make that is way beyond the money, but we get to see people's lives changed. Like that's one of the most incredible things, and the fact that the business is profitable. within like a couple of months of starting. So that's
Amazing.
I think there are a couple of clap for him. I think there are a couple of different things that make me so excited about the future at Yoco. The direction that we're currently on in this focus of creating a single point of control for business generates quite a lot of deep data for us. And the future is really about like what you can do with that data and how much more we understand our merchants and then how we leverage that to be able to guide them along. You're at this point in your journey, and if you do these three things, that's your next path to growth, right? And so, like, if you're interested in AI and the world that AI is unlocking, that's very much the space that we're looking to for the future. I think that's the one thing. And then, like, on a more personal note, I am new in the business. We've just recently launched a new product campaign, and we're looking to deepen that. But it's the privilege of working with people who are like so mission driven, and this is very 2018 and purpose and whatever, right? And a lot of organizations that like fell off that cart, and but I've always wanted to kind of be connected to an organization that really makes a big difference. And actually, like, independent business is the backbone of the South African economy, and so many problems that we have in this country would be solved by a strong form of macroeconomic growth. And I think being able to contribute to that and work with a bunch of like super talented, really great and just like nice humans that I like, it's just like it's exciting and it's filling my heart.
Okay. You guys are the best. So there's some if anyone has any questions, there's apparently a free tote bag, and then you can go straight to Woolies afterwards and do your shopping with your tote bag. Not paid for by this event, but the tote bag. Someone take this mic away from me. No, but seriously, are there any questions in the room? I'm going to start picking on you. None. Tash, yes, hi.
Basic question. Are you glad that you're self-funded, or do you sometimes think that maybe bringing on perhaps a VC with people who have a wealth of knowledge and experience is invaluable?
I'm just going to quickly.
Wondering what your thought process is there.
I'm just going to copy Tash's question for, just in case you guys didn't hear. She said, are you guys happy that you are self-funded, or have you considered, or would you love to bring a VC on board as a partner? Is it something that you're thinking about?
We've actually spoken a lot more about this because we are a family business, and it would be quite difficult to bring someone else into the business, whether we're going to grow this business to sell it and bring someone else in, or whether we're just going to keep it a family business. And we've actually decided to keep it as a lifestyle business for us right now.
I think you should really talk about your experience of partnering with people. Like I think that's really what's got us to the point where we don't want any investors.
Yeah, so I've had quite a few businesses before this business. So I think my sister was actually my partner. So I've actually been through three different finances, and each one was an issue. Each one had a problem, and different problems. And when we got to this business, I decided that's it. I don't want a financial partner coming into the business.
It's always for them.
Yeah, it's
you end up working for them.
It's difficult to go global without a big partner.
Exactly. So I do believe in our set of skills. I think in terms of clothing and in terms of manufacturing and in terms of retail, I obviously would love a little month brush up at my old work at one of SA's leading retailers just to catch up on what's the SOPs that they are using. But I do believe that in my experience in the retail space, I totally believe in the manufacturing side from Bettina. Obviously, I think I'd love someone to come in and tell us the right way to roll out stores and how all of that stuff happens. But I believe, I believe in our ability to learn and make logical decisions and grow like that. So at the moment, it's really not we're happy with the decision. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's fine, I'll shout.
Okay.
I just need to know, when is Yoco going to list? Because flip, we need some more on the exchange.
That's a lovely question. I have no idea.
I literally never want to work for a listed company. It is the amount of admin that it takes, and it's just regulation and red tape. But anyway, that's just me.
I think from a long-term growth perspective, listing gets you into a really interesting space. And so I've worked for family-owned, I've worked for privately-owned, I've worked for listed. I've done most of my time with listed. The experience I've had with the listed organisations I've been in, and I'm not saying this is all listed organisations, is that you end up taking the very short-term view and chasing the quarterly earnings release, which leads to behaviour that's very short-sighted and genuinely destructive in your organisation. And I think MJ can probably give you a few stories about that as well. So we both spent some time with 2U that was listed on the NASDAQ, and I worked for another business called Western Union, which is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It is a completely different experience, and I think there are huge benefits, right? Like we look at a business like Capitec, really doing well. Obviously, got a big capital injection to go into that space. It's really nice for us to see their results and what's driving their business. But it just drives different behaviour, and then you're chasing shareholder value versus creating beneficial value for merchants. And I think that just goes back to your previous point, and then I'll shut up. And is like, you asked this question about creating wealth. And I think for us, what's so awesome about our business is our purpose is literally to create wealth for our merchants. And if we create wealth for our merchants, we create wealth for Yoco, because our growth is tied directly to theirs. So that's when you know you've got it like properly anchored in the right place.
Any other questions? Tote bags online, yes.
Obviously, the South African consumer space is evolving very fast. I'm interested in actually for both brands. What are you noticing that the South African consumers are expecting now that they weren't necessarily expecting 5-10 years ago? In different spaces.
Did everyone hear that at the back? Yeah, I'll quickly repeat it. So he was saying the consumer space in South Africa is changing very rapidly. What are consumers expecting now from brands that they weren't necessarily expecting 5 to 10 years ago? E-commerce at work.
And SLA, sticking to your SLA, like have 3 days of delivery.
Yeah.
Delivery within 3 days. In the very beginning, it was like, oh, you're a woman-owned business, get it to me in a week and I'll be happy, or a week and a half. No, it's like the next day, 2 days. If it's on the third day, they are angry.
I think the customer has a voice now. She can. We always say, does she actually send messages directly to Fashi's or Zara? We get lots of questions from our customers. I think the customer has a voice, and I think that's changing. The customer has a voice.
I think we can talk to that too. So we're the only independent payments company left in the country. So Yoco's just been bought by Netbank, Snap's going into Standard Bank. That's, it's interesting to see those things happening. That element of voice is coming through very strongly. We have like a super strong feedback loop with our merchants. For us, the kind of hygiene factors or baselines are different. So it's always trust and reliability. You can't let your payments gateway go down. I was at an unnamed restaurant on the beach down the road here Saturday afternoon, and all of a sudden their payments gateway went down and they had to take payments via Dine Plan. Now can you imagine sending email links to everybody at every single table and waiting for them to make a payment via a credit card? So, it's just that. I think the other thing that we're seeing South Africans struggle with is just affordability. So there's a huge amount of extraction out of the economy at the moment, and some of that is self-inflicted. So sports betting, online gambling is a massive, massive problem for us as a country right now. It's hitting the people who are taking, the most vulnerable of our society. And that gets taken out of other discretionary spend areas, right? And so instead of going into an industry that is more generative, where jobs are created, etc., it's literally being flushed into one pool. So that's been a really big shift over the last 5 to 10 years that is super worrying, super concerning, and needs to be regulated as fast as possible.
And Rudolph, on the wealth space?
I think clients want transparency more than ever before. They want speed, which isn't speed that it has to be done today, but communication.
Yeah.
Because I think the bar's really low from a South African perspective. We're okay with very little, but what we want is just somebody to answer. Like, have you ever been on a call center and you get that IVR, that robot voice? Kill me now. But it's so nice if you speak to a human being, hi, Cheryl speaking, how can I help you? It's like you already feel like, oh, I'm heard. So I think from, like, that's with any customer. It's in our space as well. Like if somebody sends you a WhatsApp, just reply, thanks, I got this, I'll work on it. Because nobody's unreasonable. And yes, you do get some unreasonable clients, and then hopefully we don't have to work with them if we don't have to, or we can avoid them. It's also okay to say no to some clients, which is maybe helpful if you're a business owner.
Great point.
You can choose the people that you want to work with. So I think it's that communication, it's that speed, and it's that getting a proper understanding. So I think it's slightly different because we're a services-based business as opposed to a product-based business. So for us, it's really important that we get to know our clients really well, and then we need to be trustworthy enough that clients would extend that to us to tell us their stuff. Because we can only fix the stuff if we know about the stuff. And then like, what do we do as an organization to be real, that people want to engage in conversation with us? We don't judge them, we have to fix it and help them give guidance. So I think that would be sort of the main things that clients expect, at least from the services-based business, just like, be human.
The other thing, and to that point, the other thing that's coming back is the human centricity of things, right? So just because it can happen via AI doesn't mean that should be the point that is facing the customer. So it's great to have all these agentic capabilities in the back end to automate all of your systems, but actually, like the push to see humans to kind of get that human touch point is much more important, and human-centric commerce is going to be the thing that really grows. So putting people into the right places. And also I think back to like area of social media. So like take it back 5-10 years ago, even 5 years ago, like this automated animation used to be like super impressive, and we used to spend tons of money putting together these infographics and things. That is completely out the window. No one wants to see that shit because they know that a machine just built it and somebody gave it a couple of prompts. Now it's all about like this very real kind of hyper, behind the scenes, uncut, raw kind of footage that's driving a lot of brands, even the really big brands. No one wants really polished stuff anymore because it could be fake. And like fakeness is not winning.
So I woke up this morning with 17 SMSs. Now you think it's spam, luckily I read them. And it was my bank sending messages saying, listen, there's a purchase that didn't go off your account was blocked. I was like, okay. Phoned the banker, and it was so nice that I had a human being to speak to. And the person didn't know me by name because it was their general call center, but within 2 questions identified me, and super knowledgeable, super friendly, just saying, yes, cool, I can see this, was this a real transaction? This wasn't, okay, I've blocked your card, I'll send you a new one, you're going to have to log onto your bank again just to reset your password. And it was a 3-minute call on something that would have been traumatic at a bank I won't name where I was previously, but I think that was great. A great experience. I will tell everybody who I bank with now, not from here, I'll tell you later. But because that human centricity, in a moment of panic going, flip, how much money do I have left? Because is it all gone now? To like a wonderful, warm human being saying, hey, like we got your back, like everything's fine, don't worry about it, we'll sort this out. It really moves the needle. So using the AI and technology in the back end of your business to make you more efficient so that you've margin and headspace to actually engage with your customers on a personal basis will dramatically move the needle.
Talking about those back-end bots, if you do need them, our company sells them. So.
That's such a good question.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to take one more, and then there's New York bagels and a really good Shannon at the back.
Just about supply chain.
I'm actually just going to pass you this so we don't have to repeat it.
Hi. Just about supply chain, you mentioned getting your fabric from China. How hard is it to source from South Africa or the rest of Africa?
This is such a good question as well, and something we're super passionate about. So we obviously first when we started, everyone was looking in the same pool. So all these small brands had sort of started, there's only a certain amount of fabric we can all get. So very hard to differentiate yourself, very hard to stand out in a very oversaturated market. And we realized, getting the raw materials ourselves from China, going to the market, sourcing it, finding that like amazing fabric that really just brings to life what we want to say, and then obviously shipping it in made us stand out. So for us, it was actually the thing, like a little bit of a golden thread that pushed our business to where it is. I know it would be incredible to source our fabric locally. It's something we would love, but there just isn't enough fabric mills, there's not enough capabilities. So it's something that everyone struggles with. I always talk to other small brands. Packaging is another thing that everyone has to bring in from China, and it's a differentiator, because if they can only use a certain colors of packaging or certain shapes. It's the same problem with clothing.
I think it's a combination. I think it's about working out what your unique selling point is and then being super loud about it. So it's using both of those. But definitely differentiating yourself in a saturated market is super, super important. So yeah.
And Maria's one last point. I think what's like happening in marketing these days, it's less about differentiation, more about distinctiveness. And if you look at how distinctive the brand is, what the clothing looks like, it stands out. So there may be other elements that come into play, but it's really about distinctiveness and creating mental availability, right? So when you think of like, where should I go and look for something, that distinctiveness of that standout comes through, and you're able to cut through the clutter, because the noise in marketing right now is so much. So yeah, I think the brand does an incredible one.
I think that it would also differ if you're a service-related business or a product. If you're a service-related business, just do your service really well and be competitively priced, or at least what you think is valuable for your time. Like if you do taxes, how are you unique if you do someone's tax return?
You bring somebody up.
Then it's probably about being loud, being available, and being responsive. It's sort of funny when we get messages on our info@Firecrest email address. The obvious thing is respond to the email. It's not rocket science. And then we have people respond to our email or having that first call that says, thank you for responding. I've messaged 5 other businesses and they didn't respond. Now that's done. So if your service already have a very good service, very responsive, very respectful, very engaging, but if you're on the product side, like that uniqueness is great, because that's what captures your attention. Like, who's been to a Plato? Plato coffee, anybody?
Yeah.
That's super unique. It's like, and then you go there, and then the barista knows your name the second time you go there. So I do the service as well, and then it's just like Yoco.
Okay, guys, we're going to call it there. Thanks so much for everyone's attention and care. Enjoy your dinner.